It was the night of Halloween, the one night when the veil between the living and the dead is said to grow thin. The streets were alive with laughter, children in costumes running from house to house, their buckets filling with candy. But for 17-year-old Liam Carter, Halloween had never been about fun. For him, it was a reminder of what he'd lost exactly 1 year ago. Last Halloween, his best friend Evan had vanished without a trace after daring Liam to enter the old Holloway mansion, an abandoned house on the edge of their small town. The police searched for days, but all they ever found was Evan's flashlight flickering weakly in the mansion's dusty hallway. Since that night, Liam had been haunted not by ghosts, but by guilt. He was supposed to go in with Evan, but he chickened out at the last second. Evan went in alone and never came out. This Halloween, Liam decided to face his fear. Not for fun, not for the thrill, but for closure. I owe him that much, he whispered to himself, gripping the small, cracked flashlight that had once belonged to Evan. His two friends, Maya and Chris, tried to talk him out of it. "Liam, this is crazy," Maya said, her voice trembling. "People say that house is cursed. The Holloway family disappeared there back in 1963. No one knows what happened to them." Chris added, "Bro, every kid in town knows the stories. People hear voices, see shadows, lights turning on by themselves. Why do this to yourself?" Liam looked at them, his jaw tight. "Because I can't live like this anymore. I have to know what happened to him." So at 11:47 p.m., just before midnight, they stood before the towering ruins of the Holloway mansion. The house loomed like a sleeping beast, broken windows, ivy crawling up its sides, and a gaping doorway that seemed to swallow the moonlight. The air felt unnaturally still, as if the world was holding its breath. When Liam pushed open the creaking door, it groaned like something alive. Dust swirled through the air, and the faint smell of decay clung to the walls. The beam of his flashlight cut through the darkness, landing on old furniture covered in white sheets, portraits with faces scratched out, and stairs that seemed ready to collapse under their weight. "Hello?" Liam's voice echoed softly. "Evan." No answer, just the distant sound of dripping water. They moved deeper into the house, their footsteps crunching on the debris. Maya clutched Liam's arm tightly. "We should have brought more light," she whispered. Chris nodded nervously. "Yeah, or maybe a priest." In one corner of the hallway, they found something that made their blood run cold. A faded message carved into the wall with shaky letters. "Don't let it in." Chris frowned. "Don't let what in?" Before Liam could answer, they heard it, a slow, dragging sound upstairs, like footsteps, but heavier, deliberate. They froze. Maya's voice cracked. "Liam, maybe it's an animal." But deep down, they all knew it was. Liam tightened his grip on the flashlight and slowly climbed the stairs, each step groaning beneath him. The air grew colder, and the light began to flicker. Halfway up, the temperature dropped so sharply that they could see their breath. When they reached the top, the sound stopped. hallway stretched out before them, endless and dark. And then, from one of the rooms, came a faint whisper. "Liam." He spun around. "Did you hear that?" Maya nodded, her face pale. "It said your name." He stepped toward the room at the end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar, and the light from his flashlight barely pierced the blackness inside. "Evan," he whispered again. He pushed the door open and gasped. There, in the center of the room, stood a figure facing the wall. Tall, thin, dressed in the same hoodie Evan had worn the night he disappeared. His flashlight slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor, rolling across the room. "Evan." The figure turned slowly, and what Liam saw wasn't his friend. The face was pale, stretched unnaturally long, the eyes hollow pits of darkness. When it opened its mouth, it screamed, a shrill, distorted cry that echoed through the mansion. Maya screamed. Chris grabbed Liam, pulling him back toward the hallway, but the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. "Run," Liam shouted, forcing the door open with all his strength. They stumbled down the stairs, but the shadows moved, slithering along the walls, reaching out like hands trying to grab them. Chris tripped, falling hard. "Go," he yelled. "Don't stop." But Liam didn't leave him. He reached out, pulling Chris to his feet. "No one's getting left behind." They burst through the front door and collapsed outside, gasping for air. The mansion loomed behind them, silent once more. The laughter of trick-or-treaters in the distance felt like it came from another world. Maya sobbed. What was that thing? Liam stared back at the house, shaking. It was Evan. Whatever's in there, it's not human. As they turned to leave, Liam's flashlight flickered one last time. When he looked down, scratched into its metal surface, something new had appeared. 4 words that hadn't been there before. "It's not over yet." Liam's heart dropped. He looked back at the mansion, and for a split second, he saw something in the window, a figure watching them. The same hollow eyes, the same stretched smile. And then it was gone. That night, as Liam lay awake, he knew this wasn't the end. Whatever haunted that house wasn't finished with him, not yet. And deep inside, part of him knew the truth. To save Evan's soul and his own, he would have to go back. To be continued. It was past midnight when the last train to Greywood Station screeched into the platform. The air was thick with fog, the kind that makes everything feel slightly unreal. Emily clutched her small suitcase tightly, her fingers trembling from the cold, or maybe from something deeper. She had missed the earlier trains after a long day at work, and was now left with this train number 47, known among locals as the Midnight Line. Only the brave or the desperate take that one, the station guard had muttered before turning away. Emily laughed it off then, but as the doors hissed open and she stepped into the nearly empty compartment, she couldn't help but feel a chill crawl down her spine. Only 3 passengers sat scattered across the carriage. A young man in a hoodie, an elderly woman knitting something dark red, and a man in a black suit who stared out the window, unmoving. Emily took a seat by the window, trying to convince herself that the stories she'd heard were just urban legends. People said that the Midnight Line had vanished years ago in a tunnel accident, killing everyone aboard, and that sometimes the train still ran, carrying the lost souls who never found their way home. As the train lurched forward, she closed her eyes, exhausted. But sleep didn't come. Instead, a faint whisper reached her ear. "Don't fall asleep," someone said softly. Emily's eyes flew open. The hoodie guy was gone. The old woman was still knitting, but her hands were too fast, unnaturally fast. The man in the suit, still staring outside, motionless. The whisper came again, this time from behind her seat. "Don't fall asleep." She turned quickly, but no one was there. Just the dim lights flickering above her and the rhythmic sound of metal on tracks. Her heart pounded as the train entered a tunnel. Everything went dark for a moment. When the light returned, she gasped. The passengers were gone. Every seat was empty. She stood looking around, calling out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" Only her voice echoed back. Then, faintly, she heard a sob, a child's sob. Emily followed the sound to the far end of the carriage. A small boy sat there, his clothes old-fashioned, like something from the 1950s. He looked up at her with wide, frightened eyes. "They won't let us leave," he whispered. "Who?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "The passengers," he said. "They don't like new people." The lights flickered again, and for a split second, Emily saw them. Dozens of faces staring from the windows, pale and hollow-eyed, pressed against the glass, as if trying to break through. When the lights steadied, they were gone. Emily grabbed the boy's hand. "We have to get off this train." He shook his head. "You can't. It doesn't stop anymore." Her pulse quickened as the train sped faster and faster. She could see the blackness of another tunnel ahead. But then something strange. She saw a figure standing in the middle of the tracks. A station guard waving a lantern. Emily ran to the emergency brake and pulled it with all her strength. Sparks flew. The sound of screeching metal filled the air, and the train shuddered violently before halting. The doors opened with a hiss, and cold night air rushed in. Without thinking, Emily grabbed the boy and stepped out. The moment her feet hit the platform, she turned to look back. The train was gone. Only empty tracks stretched out into the fog. Emily blinked, her heart hammering in disbelief. She looked down at the boy, but he was gone too. In his place lay a small, old photograph, faded and torn. It showed the same boy, smiling, standing next to a train labeled number 47. The back of the photo read, "Lost in the Greywood Tunnel, 1958. Emily sank to her knees, tears filling her eyes. The station was silent, except for the wind whistling through the broken signs. As dawn began to break, she heard footsteps. A modern-day guard approached, startled to see her. "Miss, are you okay? This station been closed for 50 years. Emily could barely speak. The train, I was on it. The guard's face turned pale. That's impossible. That train crashed decades ago. He led her away. But Emily looked back one last time at the old tracks, disappearing into the mist. Deep down, she knew what she had felt, the fear, the cold hands, the voices. They were real. She later told her story to the authorities, but no one believed her. Still, every night, she'd dream of that little boy's voice echoing through the dark tunnels. "Don't fall asleep." And sometimes, when trains passed in the distance, she could swear she heard the faint screech of metal and the ghostly whistle of the midnight line, still running, still carrying souls who never made it home. Message: some journeys are not meant to be taken twice. The past has its ghosts, and sometimes the living must learn when to let them rest. The first time I felt it, I thought I was imagining things. You know that prickly sensation, like static dancing across your skin, the kind that makes the tiny hairs on the back of your neck rise. It was late at night, and I was standing under the warm stream of the shower, letting the day's exhaustion wash away. My apartment was quiet, too quiet, almost heavy with silence. Then it hit me, that undeniable feeling of being watched. At first, I told myself I was paranoid, that maybe the silence was just playing tricks on my mind. But when I reached to wipe steam off the glass, my breath froze in my chest. There, through the foggy blur of condensation, I thought I saw a shape, a shadow, someone standing in my bathroom. My name is Anna, and I had moved into that apartment just 2 months earlier, desperate for a fresh start. Life had been rough, a bad breakup, bills piling up, and nights filled with an ache of loneliness that sometimes felt unbearable. So, when I found this old but affordable unit in a quiet building, I thought I was lucky. But sometimes, the things that seem like blessings hide the darkest curses. The night I first saw that shape, I flung open the shower curtain, soap still clinging to my skin, but no one was there. Just the still, damp air. My bathroom door was locked. My heart pounded so loud it echoed in my ears. I convinced myself it was my imagination. Still, I barely slept. Every creak of the building felt like footsteps. Every hum of the pipes like a whisper. Days passed, but the feeling only grew stronger. I'd catch shadows flickering in the corners of my vision, the faintest sound of breathing in empty rooms. At night, I swore I heard the soft squeak of the shower handle turning on its own. I tried telling myself I was just stressed, but deep down, something inside me whispered the truth. I wasn't alone. The real terror came 2 weeks later. It was another late night, the kind where exhaustion hits like a weight, and all you want is to feel clean before crawling into bed. I stepped into the shower, steam fogging the mirror. That prickling sensation returned, more intense this time, crawling over every inch of my skin. My stomach twisted. Slowly, I turned my head toward the foggy glass door, and then I saw it, clear as daylight this time. A man's face, pale, gaunt, with hollow eyes that seemed to bore straight into me. He wasn't standing in the room. He was inside the glass, inside the reflection, watching me. I stumbled back, slipping against the tiles, my scream drowned by the sound of rushing water. My hand flew to the knob, fumbling to shut it off. But when I opened the curtain, nothing was there, no man, no face. Just me, trembling, dripping, heart racing so fast, I thought it might burst. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat on the couch with every light on, clutching my phone. But here's the thing. Fear has a strange way of shifting into obsession. I couldn't stop thinking about that face. Who was he? Why was he there? And why did it feel like he was trying to tell me something, not just scare me? I began to research the building. That's when I found the story. Years ago, a man named Daniel had lived in my apartment. He was quiet, kept to himself, but neighbors recalled strange things, muttering to himself in the halls, shadows in his windows, even when the lights were off. One night, he was found dead in the very bathroom I showered in. The cause was ruled suicide, but rumors said otherwise. Some claimed he'd been obsessed with mirrors, that he believed someone was trapped inside them. Others whispered he had gone mad from loneliness. I should have moved out then. I should have run. But instead, something inside me ached for him. For the first time, I felt like I understood him. I knew the suffocating weight of loneliness, the ache of an empty home. I knew how the silence could feel alive, like it was pressing in from every corner. But then things turned darker. The face no longer appeared only in the shower. I'd see it in the bathroom mirror as I brushed my teeth, in the black screen of my TV, even in the faint reflection of the window glass at night. His hollow eyes followed me everywhere, unblinking. He was watching me, waiting. One evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, heart hammering, and whispered, "What do you want?" For a moment, nothing happened, just my trembling reflection. Then the lights flickered. My reflection's mouth moved, but it wasn't mine. His lips formed a single word, "Stay." I staggered back, knocking over the soap dish. Tears welled in my eyes. He didn't want to hurt me. He wanted me to stay, to be his company, to fill the emptiness that had consumed him even in death. And in that moment, my fear twisted into something else. Pity, sadness. But pity can be deadly. That night, as I lay in bed, I dreamed of him. I dreamed I was drowning in steam, the shower filling with water, his hands on the glass, begging me to open the door. When I woke up, the shower was running on its own. The steam clung to my walls like a living thing. And written in dripping letters across the bathroom mirror was the word, forever. I broke down. I screamed. I prayed. I begged him to leave me alone.